Hi, everybody. I'm about a minute or so early, so just going to talk for just a minute about a few bits of information for down the road. Today, I'm going to be talking about and giving some tips for use of homeopathy for airborne allergies. So hay fever type things, mold, dust, pollen, animal allergies. We can probably help with just about all of them. And so just a little bit of a heads up, we are trying to do, for the most part, at least 1 or 2 Facebook Lives a week. I'm going to have one that will be focused primarily on autism and some of the specifics. I actually just did one about an hour ago on tantrums and autism. Next week, I'm going to talk about sleep problems in autism. And then we'll do a second one. Right now, I'm doing them back to back. So the first one is usually going to be at 1:30 on Wednesdays. And then we will have at 2:30 on Wednesdays from this point forward. Starting next week, we will do one that is on some general health topic, whether it's reflux or, digestive problems or respiratory issues. Some of the tips, we try to provide a couple of things for self-care that you can take home, some information on why some of these illnesses are happening. And then we'll talk a little bit about the sorts of things that you can do to help yourself and the things that we can do to help. So I'm going to jump right into some information on allergies. We, first of all, we are trying to also answer questions. If you have questions that you would like to ask after you see this, if you watch the replay or if I don't get to them during the live presentation, I'm putting up an email address, and I can't seem to walk and chew gum today. Okay, there is an email address that I just posted so that if you have questions that you think of after I've closed down the Facebook Live, then you can email us at newsletter@homeopathyhouston.com, or you can go and sign up for our newsletters at homeopathyhouston.com. And then that way you'll get notifications of the various Facebook Lives and webinars and things like that we're doing. But we also have asked our newsletter readership to send in questions. And one of the pressing questions we get is, I'm not in Houston, how can I work with you? Because our system actually is unique to us. It is a whole system of homeopathy. And then we have developed some non-individualized programs so that we can get professional products into the hands of people who maybe don't want to do the full-blown detoxification of sequential homeopathy, but they need these professional packages that we have found to be pretty across the board helpful. And we have one for airborne allergies, and the link to that is on the right of your screen. And we have found that these are things that are almost universally helpful for both the symptoms of allergies, and then if you do it for several months running, we've had a lot of people say, I just realized everybody around me is having allergies and mine are like way, way, way less, and I'm not even having to use the remedies that often. So there's information on our relief and support program on the right side of the screen. Hey, Lori, good to see you've joined me. Welcome. And so we are going to talk about a couple of things. One is, no, you don't have to be in Houston to work with us. We can do phone consults, or with our relief and support program for allergies, we include an initial consult right up front because you are going to be a client of ours in order to get these products. And we want you to start off very, very confidently. And also we'll give you a little heads up if you have questions when to throw your hand in the air and call us and say, hey, something's not working, or it's not working the way I thought it would, or I'm doing it this often and it's not, is this too much? Is this not enough? We can help you with that. All right, so allergies. We're talking about the hay fever, runny nose, red eye, puffy-eyed type of hay fever allergies. We're not really talking about food allergies. Those are actually related to the digestive tract, and that's not really entirely what we're talking about. But even airborne allergies are somewhat related to the digestive tract, because the digestive tract, when you get from the stomach down, is basically a very long tube that is a mucous membrane. Now, it does other functions as well, but it is a mucous membrane. And as one mucous membrane goes in the body, so will go others. And the sinuses are mucous membranes. You have them in your throat, down the trachea and into the bronchioles. So mucous membranes, once they're inflamed in one place, they're going to likely be inflamed in another. So in the long term, yes, gut inflammation is going to trigger some hay fever type allergies as well. Inflammation is behind almost every allergy. So where does the inflammation start? A lot of inflammation happens that affect allergies. They can come from various vaccines. In particular, we find that the MMR can inflame mucous membranes because of the measles virus. We find that any vaccine that contains mercury or thimerosal, which can be pretty much any of the vaccines that can be given to adults, not just to children, those also contain thimerosal, which is, I believe, 80% mercury by weight. And mercury, as we read in our homeopathic Materia Medica, in the system can cause irritation and inflammation of mucous membranes, and it can also cause yellow, sticky mucus discharge from the nasal or postnasal cavities. We can also see that it too creates systemic inflammation, and it is particular to mucous membranes. It will inflame everything, but mercury can, it seems to have an affinity for mucous membrane inflammation. And once those membranes become inflamed, now they're going to be much more triggerable into what we term allergies or hay fever. So you need to be addressing inflammation. You need to be addressing a little bit of detox in order to really get rid of allergies long term. Now, we can do that with our sequential homeopathy, but even our non-individualized allergy relief and support program includes a detox dropper to help really do a bit of a cell level cleansing. So we address that. We have an inflammation dropper in that package in the relief and support program that is going to help in the short term to reduce inflammation. But again, over the long term, as you detox, then your allergies will go away. And I can say that it really does work because I was an allergy sufferer growing up as a kiddo. I should have used my other coffee mug this morning. I could have shown you because it says Crazy Cat Lady. When I was a kid, if I was in the same room with a cat, I would just, my eyes would start itching and burning, my nose, I was just, that kind of rubbing the nose thing. And then I'd be miserable for about 3 or 4 days once I got away from the cat or where the cat was. I don't know to this day, was I allergic to something that the cat was rolling in, because they were usually in and out cats. But I have indoor and outdoor cats, and I have indoor cats, and I have outdoor cats, and I have some that are a little of both. And I can be around cats. I have a cat that actually sleeps with me. When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, If you told me I could have had a cat that slept with me, I would have said, yeah, not happening. I would not have been able to breathe. I might have gone into full-blown asthma. I don't know. But I have a cat that actually sleeps with me virtually every night when I'm home and gets mad at me when I'm not. So I know for a fact how bad allergies can be. I was allergic to ragweed. I was allergic to, in Houston, we have something called ligustrum. I guess it's a fairly common landscape bush, and when it would be pollinating in Houston, it turns all the cars lovely golden yellow because the pollen gets everywhere. I was allergic to oak pollen. About the first 12 or 13 years that I lived in Houston, allergies were horrific. I would have an allergy attack in the fall because in Houston, things pollinate in the fall and in the spring. I was miserable. And so I know exactly how bad it can be. My eyes were affected. My nose was affected. My ears would stop up. I would get a sore throat. It would go into my larynx, so I wouldn't be able to sing. It went into chronic sinus infections, which is actually what brought me to homeopathy in the first place. Is I went to a classical homeopath who quite literally overnight got rid of a sinus infection I had had for 6 months and through 4 different antibiotics. End on end on end and back and forth and stronger and then weaker and weaker. Threw off my whole gut flora, not to mention it didn't really get rid of the sinus infection, didn't even budge it. Because it probably had also gone into a fungal infection. And there is definitely a fungal sinus infection factor that can kick in and create a more triggerable mucous membrane. So you kind of have to pay attention to all of those things. But another aspect of our, if you work with us, we actually have desensitization drops. And just yesterday, I was talking to a client about her son, but she said, oh, my husband has used one of the products that is in the relief and support program for relief of his allergy symptoms, and he ran out of that one, but he took more of the more frequent doses of the desensitization dropper that you sent out for my son. And he said, oh my goodness, this completely knocked out my allergies, and everybody around him was complaining. And so apparently he's been kind of evangelizing everybody to our desensitization drops and one of the professional products that's in the relief and support program. And they are professional products, and that's why we can't just sell them on the internet. We're not allowed to because they are practitioner only, and they would cease to sell them to us if we just advertise them. So you do have to become a client, and with either our relief and support program, we get paperwork from you, you become a client, we give you an initial consult, and then anytime that you need our help, then we're there for you, but then you can reorder the products for several months running if you need them. They last about 2 months for one package. And then if you run out of one of the sinus sprays, then you can, or there is only one in the allergy package. If you run out of that, you can give us a call and we can send you a new one. So you're a client, we'll send refills, you just give us a call, we charge your credit card, we pop it in the mail, and you're up and running again. Although it's usually better with allergies if you don't let yourself run out completely. So let us know before you run out. Give us a little bit, give us a week or so notice. All right, so we talked a little about some of the things that can be behind allergies. What makes you triggerable is going to be inflammation, and the inflammation can be caused by vaccines, heavy metals, mercury in particular, or maybe you have something like Lyme disease, or we need to talk about another source of mercury, that mercury is a huge inflammation trigger to mucous membranes, is amalgams in your teeth. Those so-called silver fillings actually contain mercury. And what most people don't know is when you have one of those fillings, Every time you bite down on it, every time there's pressure on it, it actually releases mercury vapor into your mouth, which then can be absorbed through the tissues of the tongue and the cheeks and the throat, or swallowed with your food, or inhaled. And guess what? If you inhale mercury vapor, it goes straight to that mucous membrane, inflames it, and creates a long-term inflammability, which is then going to make you very triggerable by pollen and animal fur, dander, dust, mold, all that kind of thing. And another thing too is right now, you know, a lot of people in Houston were flooded. A lot of people in a lot of places. I know that up along the Mississippi River and the Ohio rivers, there has been massive flooding this year. So much rain, so much snow melt. And if you have had flooding in your house, even if your basement floods, or you just, you know, get a little bit of even a water leak that maybe you don't even know about. You know, bathroom pipes are notorious for having a little tiny slow leak. And unless you see it coming through your drywall, you may not even know it's there, but the moisture builds up and you can get mold in your walls. So mold allergies are becoming a huge, huge problem in the Houston area and up in the upper Midwest. Anytime you're in a home that has been flooded or that has a damp basement or, you know, drainage problems or a plumbing problem, there is the potential for mold to be in your walls, and then you're going to breathe it. And mold is one of the things that's in our desensitization drops. But even at that, if you don't want to work with us, let's talk about some remedies that are just for short-term relief of symptoms. Now, there are over-the-counter allergy nasal sprays and over-the-counter eye drops for eye irritation and eye allergy responses. And those are fine. You can pick them up at a health food store. That is quite frequently where most people get started with homeopathy, is they'll pull something off a shelf and go, I don't know what this stuff is. I don't care. If it works, I'm happy. So, you know, we typically don't carry things like eye drops in our office because we don't use a large volume of them, and eye drops have to be produced in sterile manufacturing conditions, so they have very short shelf lives. And, you know, we don't like to buy things that don't end up going to our clients and being used, because that's going to mean, you know, we run up our prices because we bought stuff that we have to throw away because they go out of expiration. So we usually tell people, if you're having eye irritation, now our products, our sequential homeopathy and our relief and support, we will address that, but we address it systemically. We don't include eye drops. But if you are having short-term problems and your eyes get puffy and red and itchy, there's some really good over-the-counter drops out there. I'm not going to mention names because you know, people get testy about that. But if you go to a health food store and say, I'm looking for some homeopathic eye drops for allergies, their people can point you to several things. And I've heard really good things from 2 or 3 different brands that are out there that are pretty much what's available. So that's one option. Another is, I'm going to talk just a little bit about a couple of remedies that are very helpful for allergies that you would take orally. You can buy these again at a health food store. We include some of these in some of our professional products, but one of them, one of the first ones is Allium CEPA. And the way that you do homeopathy for any kind of symptom is you match the symptoms to what the remedy's base material in crude form, undiluted, not a homeopathic remedy, would bring on if you were exposed to it. So Allium CEPA is one of my example remedies for how the law of like treats like, which is what homeopathy really is, works. Allium CEPA is red onion. So think about taking an onion and you cut the ends off and you're peeling it and you're chopping it. What happens to your sinuses and your eyes? your eyes start getting teary and they start burning and they get red rims, so that if you pull down the conjunctiva, see mine are kind of a healthy pink, but they're not bright red. But when they get really, really red, and you can see it just looking straight on, and you've got burning thin discharges and sneezing and you're rubbing your nose, and which of course if you have onion juice makes it worse. If that's what your allergies look like, Allium CEPA is a remedy you can use for that. It also applies to cold symptoms that match it. So Allium CEPA, red rimmed eyes are almost a specific for Allium CEPA. Thin burning discharge from the nose, eyes burn, nose burns, you want Allium CEPA. Usually you can buy that in a health food store. They come in little plastic tubes. One of the companies, the blue tube is going to be a 30C, the green tube is going to be a 6C. There are some other companies out there, so you just have to read the label because I don't know their color coding yet. But you can pick them up at almost any health food store is going to carry a few homeopathics, and Allium CEPA is a real common one because it works for colds, it works for allergies, and it even works if you're peeling onions and you accidentally rub your eyes. I can also tell you that from personal experience. So if your allergies or cold symptoms, either one, resemble peeling onions, Allium CEPA can help your allergies. Now, they're not going to address the inflammation long-term or the toxicity long-term that create the, that are behind the causation of your allergies, but over time, they can sometimes reduce your triggerability. Another one, which also is if you have both eye and sinus reactions with your allergies, is Sabadia, and that's spelled S as in Sam, A B boy, A D as in dog, ILLA, or Sabadilla, but Sabadia. That is for when the outer eyelids, when you look and you see that not just the conjunctiva, but when you close your eyes and look at the eyelids and they're very red along the edges and they burn and your eyes burn. But also it is where you have sneezing that comes in spasms. So you sneeze and you sneeze and you sneeze and you sneeze, and then you have a little while where maybe you don't sneeze. Then you, especially that coupled with the redness of the outer eyelids, that is one of the indicators for Sabadia. It also has that watery nasal discharge, but it's a little more bland. It doesn't seem like it burns this area as much as a need for Allium CEPA would. It's just more of a bland but still watery nasal discharge. But if you have the paroxysms of sneezing and then a break, then you might want to consider Sabadia. Okay, let's see. Welcome, Jeanette. I see you. Thank you for joining me. Okay, another allergy remedy. When you have the allergies that you get so much sinus congestion that you feel like you're drowning. That, when you think, oh my gosh, I'm just drowning in nasal stuff, that's when you want to think about Euphrasia. Euphrasia also has the redness of the eyes, but it can be a little bit of the redness of the conjunctiva, but the whites of the eyes themselves actually get red. Then you might want to choose Euphrasia over Allium CEPA. And also Euphrasia tends to not have as much of the watery burning discharge as Allium CEPA. It's more just, it's all sort of here, and when you blow your nose, you just get tons and tons and tons and tons nonstop of mucus out of your nose. Usually it can also have a yellow, kind of a lemony yellow look to the mucus, rather than the watery clear mucus that you see with Allium CEPA or even with Sabadia. Euphrasia is yellower, and it has redness of the whites of the eyes, not so much the eyelids. And Euphrasia also, just a little extra, if you tend to get what is called pink eye or conjunctivitis from your allergies, or just, contagious pink eye. Euphrasia is actually a remedy for that too. So it's not a bad one to have around if you have kids that tend towards pink eye, or if your allergies go from your sinuses into your eyes and you feel like you're drowning. Oh my gosh, I just can't breathe, I'm drowning. You want to think Euphrasia when you think you're drowning in your sinus stuff. Okay, one more homeopathic remedy that is frequently used, Nux vomica. When your allergies make you feel like you're hungover, because Nux vomica is actually a hangover remedy. There's a little extra tip there, but you just feel like your head is heavy and your sinuses are so full and you would like to blow your nose, but you can't. You are completely and totally stopped up, and at night you lay on one side and the upper side opens up, and then you change sides and the other side opens up and it moves down. So it's like gravity moves it from side to side. That is a sign that you need Nux vomica. Okay, hi Vivi. I assume you're talking about acupuncture. Can you do acupuncture and homeopathy? Absolutely you can. They're actually quite compatible. Now for our sequential homeopathy clients, chelation. All right, we're talking about allergy symptoms, and allergy symptoms, probably you can use these remedies and it will work with chelation. That said, we actually do a cell level detox when we're doing sequential homeopathy for allergies, or for if you want to do our allergy relief and support program, we actually do a cell level detox with both of those programs, so you don't have to do chelation. And with homeopathy, it doesn't also strip out all of your minerals. You can do chelation at the same time as homeopathy, and if you work with us, one of the things that virtually all of our clients gets is a detox dropper, and it will actually help your body detox even better. So we've actually had people who have done the detox with the homeopathy along with chelation, and they really start dumping a lot of metals, because the homeopathy is going to actually pull it right out of the cells, where chelation more does it in what's called the mesenchyme. It's the stuff like lymph that surrounds the cells, and the homeopathy isn't going to pull things out with chelation like chelation does. It's not going to pull out your nutrients and minerals the way chelation does, but you can do them together. I would probably say that if you're going to do homeopathic detox, like sequential therapy that we offer, sequential homeopathy, or anything that's a homeopathic detox, be sure your homeopath knows that you're doing chelation, because you don't want to go too hard and too long and just, you're pulling stuff out so fast that the elimination routes can't keep up. So keep everybody aware of what you're doing. But the remedies I'm talking about today, if you're doing chelation, yeah, I see no reason why the remedies would not help. Guy Lee, hey, welcome. Good to see you. Welcome. If you, just a little tip, this will be reposted. After I finish the Facebook Live, it's going to repost to our Facebook page. So where you're watching this, if you come back to it later, if you've missed some of what I've been talking about, then we'll talk about that. Okay, Lori is asking, what about postnasal drip with a sore throat? The Euphrasia is going to probably help with that somewhat. Nux vomica may help with it a little bit. Usually the sore throat it's a reaction to the nasal drip. So if you find one of these remedies helps with reducing the inflammation, then that alone is going to eliminate a lot of the sore throat problems. But if you have a sore throat, you may need to take another remedy like belladonna or phytolacca. Those are a couple of remedies. Again, you can buy them over the counter, and they're good for the sore throat aspect. Belladonna also kind of helps sometimes when your allergies are really bad. You can sort of have some flu-like aches and pains. Part of that is because of the mercury toxicity. And a lot of times belladonna will also relieve that. And some people actually get fevers with, you know, there's a reason it's called hay fever. There are people, cedar fever in Texas. Central Texas has cedar, and people are highly, highly triggerable to cedar. And that will help with that. Okay, Nux vomica. Let me just recap the 4 main remedies that I talked about that you can use for allergies that you can buy over the counter. They're homeopathics. You want to ask for homeopathic, whatever the remedy name is. So Allium CEPA, again, if it's like you're peeling onions with watery burning discharge from eyes and nose, and especially if you've got the red rimmed eyes, but maybe the whites of the eyes are still white, that would be Allium CEPA. Euphrasia is for where you have more of a conjunctivitis, where the whites of the eyes turn red, or you've got pink eye type symptoms, but you also feel like you're just drowning and you blow your nose and it's just gallons and gallons of mucus, clear mucus coming out usually, but it can also go to yellow. So that would be euphrasia. But when you feel like you're drowning, and especially if you also have the eye irritation where the whites of the eyes get red, say that 10 times fast. I obviously couldn't. Then you want to think euphrasia. Nux vomica is for when you feel hangover-like symptoms from your allergies, or you're hungover. It works for that too. But where you feel like if you could just blow your nose and you can't because you're so congested, but when you lay down, gravity sends all of the mucus to one side and the other side, the upside clears out, and then you switch sides and it switches sides too. That would be an indication of nux vomica, or you feel like you want to blow your nose but can't. Wants to but can't is a big indicator for nux vomica. And then Sabadia is somewhat similar to Allium CEPA. And that is going to be one with, again, the watery burning discharge, but with absolute paroxysms of sneeze, 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 and then it stops for a while. Nux can have a lot of sneezing as well, but it tends to be fairly constant, where you'll have like 3 or 4 sneezes in a row, and then 5 minutes later, 3 or more sneezes in a row. With Sabadia, you might sneeze, seems like you're sneezing for 10 minutes, and then you don't have anything for hours. So those are just some differentiations between the remedies. The key to homeopathy, again, is matching your symptoms. So that's why I've given you a lot of different symptoms to look at with each of these different remedies. That said, I am a firm believer in combinations of remedies. My classical colleagues get really mad at me because they go, oh, well, this one antidotes that one. If you're doing constitutional homeopathy, you're looking for an excuse why your magic bullet remedy didn't work. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. If you have allergies and you don't know which of these you want, and you have 2 or 3 of them on hand, put 1 or 2 pellets of them together into a water bottle and then sip on it frequently. And as your symptoms begin to subside, you will just kind of naturally forget to take them. The cool thing about homeopathy, and this is another little homeopathy tip, if you have something like allergies or cold symptoms, the more intensive your symptoms, the more frequently you want to take the remedies. And then you're going to naturally just forget to take them, to redose them as you get to feeling better. As the symptoms begin to spread out, then you're going to naturally spread out your dosing. So a sip is a dose if you make up a water bottle. I usually say about 8 ounces, or, a typical little, standard water bottle that you would carry around. You can put 1 or 2 pellets of each of the remedies that fit your symptoms, or if it's a combination because you're not sure, put them together, sip on them. And I would say most of the time, if there is 1 or more remedies, that sometimes you have overlaps of symptoms. So if you do them, you're just getting a broader number of remedies for your body to pick and choose from. You're going to be working with a broader number of symptoms. So that's one of our tips that we like to say about homeopathy. You can't overdose on homeopathy. It is diluted. Even some of the most toxic things in the world get highly, highly diluted and actually will act to eliminate the symptoms that the crude substance brings on. So if you get a homeopathic remedy above like a 6C or a 12X, there is none of the original chemical left. It's only the healing properties that stay there. So you can't poison yourself with a homeopathic remedy. And I get real irritated when, Big Pharma says that you can overdose on a homeopathic remedy and, oh my goodness, it has mercury in it. It doesn't have mercury in it. It has highly diluted medicinal sources from mercury in it, and it can actually help you detox mercury. And the same with belladonna. Very high dilutions, and that's going to give you the most healing aspects of that belladonna plant. Now, if you get into lower potencies, anything below, like I said, that 6C or 12X potency, then yes, there may be some tiny, like parts per billion there. Well, let me tell you, you get a whole lot more mercury in a vaccine than you ever would from a homeopathic remedy that will actually detox the mercury. And that's where we come in. I am not suggesting that you go out and start detoxing yourself with homeopathic mercurius. Too many of us are mercury toxic from our amalgams in our teeth, releasing that mercury vapor, or from vaccines that are preserved or even just manufactured using thimerosal have mercury. Mercury, when it starts detoxing, it's going to pull other things with it. So you really need to work with a professional if you're going to start using that. So over-the-counter combination remedies for allergies are perfectly fine, but if you want to get serious about eliminating your triggerability, then you're probably going to need to work long-term with some oversight. And we have 2 programs. Sequential homeopathy is our deep, super individualized program, and we do monthly consults to try to detox whatever you've been exposed to, whether it's from amalgams, well, actually in Houston, we breathe something like 5 times higher amounts of mercury in our air because of mercury vaporizing off of what I call the chemical coast. The Gulf Coast has refineries and chemical plants that are putting out mercury. The east parts of the East Coast around New Jersey and southern Pennsylvania, those have a lot of chemical and petroleum refineries, so they're breathing a lot of mercury. So we get it from pollution, we get it from our teeth if we have silver amalgams, and mercury is one of the biggest triggers of allergies. And one of the ways I completely eliminated my allergies over time was through sequential homeopathy and detoxing. And I even do an annual pretty serious detox with homeopathy, because that really does reduce the inflammation and reduce that triggerability. Hey, Judith, thank you for joining us. I'm actually almost finished, but like I said, all of this information, this whole Facebook Live will be reposted here on the Homeopathy Houston Facebook page. We did talk about a number of remedies, but you also can become a client. We can do sequential homeopathy, which is super individualized to detox. We will address heavy metals if you have allergies. We will address the triggers and help desensitize, and will help reduce inflammation, because all of those factor into hay fever or allergies. And then we also have a lower cost, but non-individualized allergy relief and support program. And if you look on the right of your screen under my introduction, there's actually a link to that, so you can get more information there. And I'm going to probably bring this down to a close. Let me open it up. Are there any questions that I haven't answered? We talked a little bit about, can you do homeopathy with chelation? And I accidentally answered, can you also do it with acupuncture? Yes, you can. Any questions out there? If there are no questions, or if you think of a question later, I'm going to put an email address that, you know, you watch one of these things and they go, okay, you know, no more questions, and they close it out, and then immediately you have a question pop into your mind. You can call our office, certainly, or you can write to newsletter@homeopathyhouston.com, and I'll either answer them if we get enough of the same question. I try to answer them individually if they're a pretty short answer, and sometimes if enough people are asking the same question, like, can we do phone consults? Yes, we can do phone consults. Then I'll answer it on a Facebook Live or during a Q&A during a webinar. And just a little plug, we are going to try every Wednesday, other than when I'm traveling or something, pretty much every Wednesday we are going to do a 1:30 Houston time, Central Time, Facebook Live that will usually have to do with something about autism. We did one this morning, and I think it's probably already reposted here on our Facebook page, about tantrums in autism. Next week I'm going to talk about sleep problems in autism and some things that you can do and what we can do to help eliminate them. And then now we're going to start doing a weekly general health topic Facebook Live an hour later, so at 2:30 Central Time. And again, those will all be Facebook Lives here. And also, if you go to our website, homeopathyhouston.com, there will be a pop-up and you can sign up for our newsletter, and that way you'll get notices ahead of time of what we're going to talk about on the various Facebook Live presentations each week, as well as being notified when we're doing a longer webinar. Webinars will often last about an hour, and they'll have, I'll have a formal PowerPoint and that kind of thing. But we're trying to answer a lot of the questions that over the years have come into us, as well as your current pressing questions. So thank you all very much. Looks like it's about time for us to wind down. Thank you for your time and attention, and please share this. It does take a few minutes for Facebook's machinations for them to repost this, so give them 30 minutes. But please, please, please share these with anybody you know who has allergies. We're trying to make it so that you can do self-care, give you tips for your own self-care that you can try. And if that's not quite enough and you need to go a little deeper, then give us a call. Thanks again for your time. Have a great day.